All right, let's dive in. Today, we're exploring some pretty fascinating ideas about wealth and happiness from Naval Ravikant.
Yeah, definitely a thinker worth exploring.
You've probably heard his name. He's a tech investor, philosopher, and just overall interesting guy.
Yeah, and we're going deep into the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. It's like this treasure chest of his wisdom from tweets and blog posts to podcasts.
All thanks to Eric Jorgensen for putting it all together for us.
Absolutely, and I think what we'll do is try to pull out some of the most intriguing nuggets.
Right, because everyone's always throwing around sound bites about getting rich.
Yeah, exactly.
But we want to go deeper. Like, can you really get rich without some crazy luck?
Right.
What about working yourself to the bone? Is there something more important than just grinding all the time?
Yeah, good questions.
And then there's this whole idea of escaping competition by just being yourself.
That's a big one.
And of course, got to figure out where happiness fits into all of this, right?
Yeah, how does it all connect?
Definitely. So maybe we should start with Naval's background.
Yeah, his story is pretty interesting.
It's not your typical Silicon Valley success story, right?
No, not at all.
From what I gather, he talks about growing up as a poor immigrant in New York City.
Yeah, finding refuge in libraries, pretty much lived in them.
Wow. And apparently his first job at 15 was, wait for it, in an illegal catering company.
No kidding. That's a long way from venture capital.
Out of the back of a van or something. Who knows?
You're seriously. But things changed for him, obviously.
There was a turning point somewhere along the way.
He points to Stuyvesant High School as being really pivotal.
Oh.
He calls it his intelligence lottery ticket.
Interesting way to put it.
Yeah, because it opened doors to an Ivy League education and then into tech.
Makes sense. But it wasn't just about being in the right place at the right time, though.
Definitely not.
He's made some pretty bold statements about being able to rebuild his wealth from scratch in just a few years.
Right. It's almost like a thought experiment, but he's serious.
Not just about luck or even hard work.
He's adamant that building wealth is a skill set.
Like if you dropped him on a random street, just his knowledge alone,
Yeah.
he believes he could recreate his success within 5 to 10 years.
It's wild. And that's where his famous how to get rich without getting lucky tweet storm comes in.
Ah, yes, the one that went completely viral.
For a reason. It's packed with these incredibly dense, timeless insights.
Okay, so let's break down some of those tweets.
Yeah, let's do it.
One that I remember vividly is, seek wealth, not money or status.
That's a good one.
But I got to admit, the difference between those things seems kind of subtle to me.
It's super important to understand the distinctions, though.
Help me out here.
Think of it this way. Money, that's just a tool, right? A medium of exchange. Status, that's all about where you stand in the social pecking order.
Makes sense.
But wealth, true wealth, that's about owning assets that generate value.
Even when you're not working.
Exactly, even while you sleep. It's not about chasing a paycheck or trying to impress people.
It's about building something that works for you.
On autopilot, almost.
I like that.
And it leads right into another one of his key tweets. You're not going to get rich renting out your time.
You must own equity.
Bingo.
Meaning owning a piece of the business.
Yep, not just trading hours for dollars.
Why is owning equity so important in his view, though? What does it actually do for you?
It's the path to real freedom, financial freedom, because it lets you tap into a business's growth potential.
Like, imagine owning a slice of a company that takes off.
Your wealth grows right along with it.
Regardless of how much you're clocking in.
It's not about the hours, it's about ownership.
Instead of just getting a slice of someone else's pie?
You own a piece, the whole bakery.
Love that analogy. That makes a ton of sense.
And he's really big on thinking long term.
Okay, yeah, he talks a lot about that.
Another tweet that stands out, pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people.
So it's about aligning yourself with the right kind of people for the long haul.
Not just chasing quick wins.
Makes sense. But how do you choose that right industry in the first place?
Right. And then how do you even stand out in a market that's already so crowded?
It seems like everyone's trying to get rich these days.
Well, that's where Naval's idea of specific knowledge comes into play.
Okay, I've heard him talk about this.
He believes it's your unique edge, your advantage in this whole game.
So what is it exactly? Some secret formula?
It's a blend of things. Your DNA, how you were raised, what you're passionate about.
So it's not about following trends or trying to copy someone else's success?
Nope, it's about digging deep into what makes you different.
So even if it's unconventional, if it feels right to you, that's what matters.
He argues that this specific knowledge is more valuable than chasing hot jobs or fields.
Because it's something you can become truly exceptional at.
Exactly. Take Naval himself, for example.
Okay, I'm ready for a real-world example.
Well, he was always a huge reader, loved technology.
I can relate to that.
He's got this knack for picking things up quickly, but he gets bored easily, too.
Ah, so all these things actually made him perfect for venture investing.
Bingo. It was a field where he could constantly be learning, analyzing new ideas, betting on the future.
And using that specific knowledge to his advantage.
It's about aligning your natural inclinations with a field that rewards those strengths.
That's awesome. But how do we, regular people?
Right. How did Doug UE figure out our specific knowledge?
That seems like the million-dollar question, literally.
That's a fantastic question, and one we'll definitely dive into more after a quick break.
Awesome. I'm hooked.
We'll explore how to identify and then actually leverage those unique skills and passions.
To create real wealth A&D fulfillment, which is what we all want, right?
That's the dream. Stay tuned.
All right, we'll be back in a flash. Okay, so back to this specific knowledge thing. Before the break, we were talking about how it's your unique advantage, right? Blending your DNA, experiences, passions.
Right.
But how do we actually uncover what our specific knowledge is?
It's not like some mystical quest or anything.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Naval's pretty practical about it.
Okay, good.
He says, start with asking yourself some simple but powerful questions.
Like what?
What are you just naturally drawn to? What are you doing even when nobody's watching? Just because you enjoy it.
It's those things that feel more like play than work, right?
Exactly. Like you'd do them even if you weren't getting paid.
Totally.
And don't be afraid to explore different paths.
Oh, for sure.
Experiment. Be curious.
Yeah.
What really resonates with you might not be obvious at first.
Right.
Our interests and passions, they change over time.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's okay.
That's a relief, actually.
Why is that?
I think a lot of people get caught up in trying to find that one perfect thing.
Yeah.
And then feel stuck if it doesn't work out exactly as planned.
That's natural to feel that way.
Right.
But the journey is just as important as the destination.
Okay.
Each experience, each detour, it all adds to your specific knowledge, even if it takes you in a different direction.
It's like building your own unique toolkit along the way.
I like that.
Exactly.
Okay, so another idea from Naval's tweet storm that stuck with me.
Which one?
He says, apply specific knowledge with leverage, and eventually you will get what you deserve.
Oh, that's a powerful one.
We've talked about specific knowledge,
Yeah.
but this leverage thing,
What about it?
it sounds a bit intense.
Well, he sees it as a force multiplier.
Okay.
Something that amplifies your efforts
Yeah.
and your judgment.
So in the past, the traditional forms of leverage, that was labor, right?
Yeah, having people work for you.
And capital.
Money, assets you can invest.
Right. But Naval talks about these new W forms of leverage that are even more powerful.
More accessible, too, especially today.
Something about code and media, right?
You got it. He calls them permissionless forms of leverage.
Permissionless.
Yeah.
I've never heard it put that way before.
It just means you don't need anyone's approval to use them.
So, like...
With labor, you need people willing to work for you. Or to leverage capital, someone has to invest in you.
But with code and media, the barriers to entry are way lower.
So anyone with a computer and internet
Pretty much.
could potentially leverage these tools to create wealth and reach a wider audience.
That's the beauty of it.
It's pretty empowering, actually.
Absolutely. With code, you can build software, apps.
Stuff that works for you 24/7.
Reaching a global market, no limits of physical distribution.
And with media?
Writing, podcasts, videos.
Right.
You share your ideas, your knowledge, your creativity.
Build a following.
And generate value way beyond your immediate efforts.
It's like harnessing the power of technology to amplify your impact.
Exactly.
But it all seemed to come back to this idea of judgment that Naval talks about.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have the tools.
Right.
You got to know how to use them effectively.
He believes that in the world we live in now, good judgment is more important than even hard work.
Wow.
He defines it as understanding the long-term consequences of your actions.
So especially with all this leverage,
Yeah.
one decision can have a huge impact.
Absolutely.
But how do you develop good judgment? Like, is that something you're born with?
It's a good question.
Or can you learn it?
Some people might have a natural knack for it, But Naval believes it's a skill you hone over time.
Okay.
Through experience, learning from your mistakes.
And your successes too, right?
Exactly. And this is where specific knowledge comes back in.
I
You
see.
need that deep expertise.
To make informed judgments in your field.
You can't just wing it.
You got to know what you're doing.
Exactly. It's not just about being smart, though.
Oh, what does he mean by that?
He actually says clear thinking is even more valuable.
I'm curious, what's the difference between smart and being a clear thinker?
He makes a distinction.
Yep.
For him, clear thinking is about shedding your ego.
Oh, wow.
Seeing reality as objectively as possible.
Detaching from your desires, your biases.
All that mental clutter.
Yeah, that can cloud your judgment, for sure.
Exactly.
But that sounds incredibly challenging.
It's not easy.
Our egos and desires feel like part of who we are.
It's true.
So how do you even begin to separate yourself from them?
It's a process.
Okay.
Naval suggests things like spending time in nature.
Get away from it all.
Disconnecting from the constant noise of technology.
Yeah, makes sense.
Seek out opposing viewpoints.
Challenge your own assumptions, right?
Exactly. It's like giving your mind a detox.
I like that.
And of course, he's a big advocate for meditation and mindfulness.
To cultivate more awareness of your mental states.
Your pattern.
So that you're not just reacting all the time.
Exactly. He believes clear thinking leads to better decisions.
In business, but in life too, right?
Absolutely. It all contributes to a more fulfilling life overall.
I'm really starting to see how these principles connect.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about happiness.
All right. Time for a change of pace.
We've covered how to build wealth,
Yeah.
but what does Naval have to say about finding joy and contentment?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Because sometimes those feel like separate pursuits, you know?
Totally.
Naval's journey with happiness is very personal.
Yeah, he's really open about it.
He admits that early on in his career, he was so focused on achievement
Success.
that he basically dismissed happiness.
Wow.
He even rated his own happiness level like a 2 or 3 out of 10.
That's pretty bleak.
But he turned it around.
Yeah.
He talks about being at a 9 out of 10 now.
That's a huge shift. What happened?
What changed?
He says it was a conscious shift in mindset.
Okay.
In developing specific habits and practices.
So it's not something that just happens to you.
No.
You have to actually work towards it.
He's adamant about that.
Happiness is a choice,
A skill.
like fitness or building wealth.
Exactly. It's an inside job, not dependent on outside circumstances.
So it's about acceptance, letting go of what you can't control.
And focusing on a positive mindset.
I love that. It's about taking ownership of your own happiness,
Not waiting for things to be perfect.
not waiting for validation from others.
It's about what you can control.
But what are some of these techniques he uses?
Yeah, let's get tactical.
I'm ready for some actionable steps.
Okay, one of the simplest but most powerful things is to consciously cultivate positive interpretations of events.
Okay.
He even told this story about getting flooded with photos after some event.
I think I remember that one.
At first, he was annoyed, right?
Yeah, like having to sort through all these pictures.
But then he changed his perspective.
Oh, right. He decided to see it as a chance to exercise his judgment.
Pick his favorites, appreciate the effort people put in.
It's such a tiny shift.
But it shows how we can choose to focus on the positive.
Even in the little things.
Exactly.
It really is. It's like choosing to see that glass half full.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's be real for a sec.
Okay.
Sometimes it's really hard to break out of those negative thought patterns.
Yeah, it can be.
It's like you're wired to see the downside. What about those times when it feels like you just can't help but be pessimistic?
Naval actually has a suggestion for that.
I'm all ears.
He says, try this. Tell your friends you're a happy person.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Just saying it out loud? How does that make a difference?
He calls it a consistency bias.
Okay.
By telling people you're happy,
Yeah.
you kind of create this pressure to live up to that.
Interesting.
It pushes you to act in ways that actually match that identity.
I kind of get it.
It's like you're holding yourself accountable.
I like that. It's a good hack.
Right.
I'm definitely going to try that.
Let me know how it goes.
Okay, so any other habits he recommends for boosting happiness?
Oh, yeah. Tons.
Give me the good stuff.
Okay, well, he's a big advocate for embracing discomfort.
Oh, no. What?
Why not?
I'm not really into discomfort.
I get it, but hear me out.
Okay.
He uses this example of taking cold showers.
Oh, hard pass.
You don't like cold showers.
I'm more of a hot shower kind of person.
Fair enough. But his point is,
Okay.
the anticipation is often worse than the experience itself.
So it's all in your head.
In a way, yeah.
Interesting.
When you put yourself in challenging situations on purpose,
Even small ones.
Exactly.
Actually build
you
resilience.
learn to handle things better.
And that ultimately increases your capacity for happiness.
That's the idea. It's like expanding your comfort zone bit by bit.
Okay, so I guess you got to get a little uncomfortable to grow.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
And of course, he's big on meditation.
Right. So like everyone who's successful meditates these days.
It's pretty common.
What kind does he do?
He practices something called choiceless awareness.
What's that?
You might also hear it called non-judgmental awareness.
Okay.
It's about observing your thoughts and feelings.
Without judgment.
Exactly. Just noticing them.
As they come and go.
It's about being present.
Cultivating acceptance.
It's a powerful way to detach from that mental chatter.
Quiet the monkey mind.
Exactly. Naval finds it helps him appreciate those simple moments.
And not get swept away by all the ups and downs.
Happiness is an inside job, remember?
Right. It all comes back to that.
One last thing I want to mention.
Yo.
Naval is really big on valuing your time.
He says it's more valuable than money, even friends.
More valuable than your own desires, even
Wow.
it's your most precious resource.
So true.
You got to use it wisely.
But how do you actually value your time when there are so many demands on it?
That's the challenge, right?
It feels like everyone wants a piece of you.
It's about being intentional.
Intentional about.
How you spend your time.
Okay.
Prioritize the things that bring you joy.
The things that align with your values.
And let go of the things that drain your energy.
The things that don't serve your goals.
Exactly. It's about setting boundaries, saying no.
And not feeling guilty about putting yourself first sometimes.
It all goes back to escaping competition by being authentically you.
Right.
When you focus on what matters to you.
You're creating a life that's uniquely yours.
You're not trying to keep up with anyone else.
Not following someone else's definition of success.
And Naval believes that's the path to wealth and happiness.
This has been incredible.
I know, right?
We've covered so much.
Naval's journey.
His insights on wealth, happiness, living a meaningful life.
And it's all connected.
What I appreciate is that he doesn't present these as rigid rules.
Yeah.
More like guiding principles.
Just adapt them to your own life.
He leaves us with this powerful thought.
The meaning of life is to do things for their own sake.
So find those things that bring you joy.
The things you're passionate about.
Pursue them with everything you've got.
Regardless of external reward.
It's about the love of the process.
Exactly. Maybe that's the real secret.
Find that sweet spot where your passions align with your skills.
Where you can create value and make a difference.
Wow, what a fantastic way to wrap up our deep dive into Naval's wisdom.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it as enlightening as we did.
We'll see you next time.
Keep seeking, keep learning, and keep diving deep.